Hello, everyone, and welcome back to 1IQ Sports Talk. Sterling here coming at you with another rundown of the Pittsburgh Steelers Week 2 matchup, this time against the Denver Broncos. This game was originally set to be the second half of the revenge tour to start the season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Last week we had Arthur Smith going to Atlanta and get the win there after they fired him last year. And then this week was supposed to be Russell Wilson's return to Denver to get his revenge on them cutting him and still paying him that big contract. But that calf injury of his has not remedied itself. It hasn't healed up yet, so it ends up being Justin Fields getting the call again this week to be the starting quarterback. Thankfully, this week, that decision was made very early on, so Justin Fields got the opportunity to practice with all the ones this week, which was really good. That really helped with, I think, the just the consistency, the better snaps. We didn't see those same sort of issues as we did in week 1 where there were some fumbled snaps and there were some issues. I know there was one late in the game this week, but overall, let's get into the start of the game. It was a great drive in the first quarter. I think it was their second drive. They had an excellent mix of run and pass, moving the ball well, and they worked their way down the field consistently. And then on 3rd and goal, there was just a very clever shift that was made where they moved Darnell Washington to the outside after a Denver injury and a substitution came in, and it resulted in Darnell Washington, big 6'6", over 200 pounds, being lined up against, I think he was like 5'9", 5'10" corner. And so it was a huge mismatch, and Justin Fields was just right on the money, outside shoulder in the end zone for Pittsburgh Steelers to finally get their first touchdown of the season. And it wasn't who anybody thought it would be. Everybody thought it would be George Pickens or Najee Harris or even Justin Fields himself, but nope. Darnell Washington gets the Pittsburgh Steelers' first touchdown of the season, which is great to see. I said it last week, this defense is really good, so if we can start turning some of the field goals into touchdowns, then this is going to bode well for the team going forward. And we got to see that in the first quarter there. Second drive after that it looked good. It started out well, moving the ball again, but Broderick Jones had been put in there for that drive at right tackle, replacing Troy Fautanu, who was the starter. I think they're just trying to figure out how to work these young linemen into the situation. And Broderick Jones, he has been struggling. And there were a couple of penalties on that drive that just absolutely killed the momentum. The first one, they were able to bounce back from, still convert the first down, and start moving the ball downfield again. And then a big pass downfield to George Pickens that would have been, I think it was almost 60 yards. And that got called back due to, again, offensive holding by Broderick Jones. And it reached a point during that drive where Mike Tomlin just pulled him back out of the game. And Fautanu was back in there at that right tackle position. And Broderick Jones just sat the bench the rest of the game. So we knew coming into the season there were some injury issues, some lingering problems with that elbow of his. And I'm wondering if that's starting to cause some development and behavioral issues. He doesn't seem to be all full committing to what needs to be done, and he seems to be a little upset over the fact that he's lost his starting position to Troy Fautanu, the rookie that was drafted this year. So hopefully he can get healthy and find his game again so that we can have both of those guys out there, because they're both good, big, young, strong linemen. It would be nice to see that happen. And so that was a bit of a letdown, but this Pittsburgh Steelers offense was still able to keep moving the ball through that first half. Right near the end, just when we were nearing that 3-minute mark in the first half, bad decision making by Sean Payton, opting to go for it on 4th down with Bo Nix, and Patrick Queen was able to get up in front of the pass, knock that down, which resulted in a turnover on downs with excellent field position for the Steelers. They then proceeded to march down the field again, get into the red zone inside the 10. Good pass to Van Jefferson, who tried to make a move and almost ran the clock out before half, but ended up getting down with 2 seconds left, called the timeout, kicked the field goal. So no touchdown on that one just because we ran out of time. I think Pittsburgh would have been able to score another touchdown on that drive. But either way, going into halftime, Pittsburgh had themselves a nice 10-0 lead, which with this defense, that is a excellent way to start the second half. Coming out of the half, the Denver defense definitely tightened up quite a bit in the second half. Combined with Pittsburgh, they sort of went to more of a conservative game plan, hoping to rely on that defense to continue stopping Denver and not allow them to make a comeback at all. And then it was a tight defensive battle the rest of the way. Early in the second half, we had Dante Jackson go down after a collision with another player. No serious injury, but he was off the field for a couple plays after Denver had marched the ball downfield. And Corey Trice Jr. comes in to replace him. And 2 plays later, back of the end zone, Corey Trice gets his first career interception on Bo Nix, ends that drive completely. And that was really the most offense that Denver was able to mount that entire game, on that turnover there. Rest of the game, it just was a slow battle of field position and time management for Pittsburgh, and it was just a couple field goals back and forth for each team, leading to a final score here in week 2 of Pittsburgh Steelers 13, Denver Broncos at 6. And so that's another W for Pittsburgh. That puts them to 2-0. They're sitting atop the AFC North. The offense looked better when watching them. Unfortunately, the stat line does not show that. The stats were worse this week than last week, which is still a concern. And so really, one of the 2 biggest concerns here is this passing game for Pittsburgh. They need to find some way to get this going more. Justin Fields, 13 for 20, only 117 yards this week. He did get that 1 touchdown. Again, no interceptions, no fumbles, so he protected the ball well. He did also carry it again for 27 yards and was sacked 2 times. As I mentioned earlier, there was one brief little fumbling moment late in the game, just a snap from Zach Frazier to Justin Fields before he was ready for it, which hit him in the face mask, bobbled a bit. Luckily, it bounced right up into Jaylen Warren's hands, and he was able to corral that and not lose that as a fumble. So yeah, Justin Fields, we got to find a way to get him more comfortable. We saw a couple of big passing plays from him. Both were pulled back due to penalties, so that was disappointing to see. I think those 2 plays would have put him up near the 200 mark, which would have been much better stat line to see at the end of the game. Rushing the ball, Najee Harris, again, workhorse, 17 carries for 69 yards. I'd like to see him get a few more, but really he's still averaging 4.1 yards per carry, which is perfect for a running back. Good news this week, Jaylen Warren is no longer dealing with that hamstring injury. He was 100% ready to go, and we got to see that as he carried the ball 9 times himself for an additional 42 yards. So this Pittsburgh running game has got it going. They're getting over 100 yards a game combined between Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren, Cordarrelle Patterson, and Justin Fields. I think with just Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris, they're going to be able to consistently be putting up over that 100-yard mark. I want to see that O-line start to impose their will and start opening up holes when we're in the red zone and down near the goal line. Let these running backs start getting some touchdowns because we need to see more of that for Pittsburgh. Catching the ball, again, lackluster week considering Justin Fields only completed 13 passes on 20 attempts. So the bulk of the catches were Pat Freiermuth. He had 4 receptions for only 39 yards. A couple of key first downs, though, and he was only targeted those 4 times. So 4 for 4, that was good. No drops there. George Pickens, he was targeted a few more times. He had 2 receptions for 29. The 2 that he didn't get, those were the penalties that were called back. So him too, no drop issues or anything this week, and his stat line would have been much, much heftier if not for those 2 called back plays where he made big catches down the field. And then Darnell Washington, he had his 1 reception, 5 yards, but got that touchdown for Pittsburgh, which was so key for this offense to get at that touchdown out of the way. So get that monkey off their back, so to speak, because it was starting to look like maybe we were just going to be a field goal happy team again this season. Going over to the other side of the ball, this defense, again, shows why they are a top 3 in this league, if not the number 1. Both Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt recording sacks this week. We had, again, 2 interceptions this week. Different guys this time. DeMonte Casey got one in the first half there. And then, as I mentioned, Corey Trice Jr. got his first career interception in the second half. And so this secondary is stepping up. We've seen 4 interceptions over the first 2 weeks, all 4 different guys, and not the names you would expect to be hearing, other than maybe Dante Jackson. We expected that, but beyond that, we were expecting to hear maybe Joey Porter Jr. or Minkah Fitzpatrick, those sorts of names called more for the interceptions. So the fact that we're getting some from other parties, especially these young cornerbacks and Corey Trice Jr., that is promising to say the least. Chris Boswell, again, money this week. He wasn't called on nearly as often, which, good to give him a rest for that leg after last week's 6 for 6. He was 2 for 2 this week, but still hit one of those kicks from beyond 50 yards. He's quickly becoming one of the more stable, consistent kickers right now in the NFL. We talk about Justin Tucker for years, but he has been having himself some issues. So, we see guys like Chris Boswell that now have been put to the forefront of the reliable kickers that can win games. It didn't come down to a kick to win the game this week, as Pittsburgh was up 13-0, and then Denver was able to just chip away with a couple of field goals late in the game to make that 13-6 final. So honestly, there wasn't a whole lot of concern as we got later into the game with this defense. They are just really, really good when they're playing with a lead. It is really hard to move the ball on these guys because they know they can key in on the pass a little bit more, which allows them to get that pass rush in, and it makes them so dangerous. So really, the defense this week was the driving force behind the win. That offensive production, as I said, it's lacking. We need to find a way to increase that. The thing now is the big questions really start to sink in for this Pittsburgh Steelers coaching staff. You name Russell Wilson the starter. He's not able to go, so you have Justin Fields for weeks 1 and 2, and you come out with 2 wins. Yes, the stat line isn't great, but there's no way to know if Russell Wilson was going to be able to put up better numbers. We don't know that. And so I don't envy the coaching staff having to make this decision, because once Russell Wilson is cleared to play, they're going to have to decide, are they just going to roll with Justin Fields and cut Russell Wilson and let him go find another team to sign with, or are they going to give Russell Wilson that shot like they brought him in to have and make Justin Fields sit and wait some more? If for some reason the staff does decide that Russell Wilson is going to get that opportunity, because of these 2 wins now, there is going to be a much shorter leash than originally would have been given to Russell Wilson going forward. He will not necessarily need to outperform Justin Fields, but he is going to have to ensure he's finding ways to get those wins, because even if his stats are better, if the team isn't pulling out the wins with Russell Wilson there, that's going to still cause some division and a lot of fans to be upset and thinking Justin Fields needs to be back in there. Has Justin Fields done enough to just guarantee himself that job? No. under 200 yards both games, barely over 100 this game, only one touchdown. He has protected the ball well, though. That I am happy to see. It's creating quarterback controversy, which we didn't want to see, but here we are. The defense, overall, stellar performance. They are going to be great every week. And the time of possession battle has been so key so far this season. Last season, the Pittsburgh Steelers were only, possessing the ball for maybe about 20 minutes of the game, and that is why that defense was so exhausted every week by the end of the game and then going into the next. So far this year, it has been an even split. It's been about 30 minutes each for each team, 1 or 2 minutes over or under, and that is key. This team needs to find ways to stay on the field on offense to give the defense enough time to rest so that they can still be this impactful when we start reaching the latter half of the season. So now, going forward, the revenge tour is over. Arthur Smith, Russell Wilson, those return matchups are both done. And the matchups will start to get a little bit tougher as we go forward as well. Next week, we finally get the Pittsburgh Steelers home opener. They are playing at Acrisure at home against the LA Chargers coming into town. And so LA Chargers, Justin Herbert, that's going to be a bit of a tougher task for sure. Probably the best quarterback play we're going to see up to this point in the season. So the defense is going to need to be in top form from the opening snap next week, since they are going to need to make sure they keep Justin Herbert in line, find a way to get this offense out into an early lead again so that the defense can play their game more and be more confident. On the bright side, it double-edged sword here. We've got a familiar face in the backfield for LA next week in J.K. Dobbins, played with the Baltimore Ravens. So the Steelers defense knows what J.K. Dobbins is capable of. But even when you know what a guy's capable of, he has been lighting it up to start this season. And that is something that the coaching staff is going to really have to watch hard for practice this week and make sure that we have a game plan to corral J.K. Dobbins going into next week. So yeah, end of week 2, we've got the Pittsburgh Steelers sitting at 2-0 after a big win in Denver. It's hard to get wins in Denver, so that was good to see. And now we just look ahead to week 3. Home opener, Pittsburgh Steelers, LA Chargers coming to town. Let's go Steelers. So if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like and subscribe button. Check us out for everything we've been posting. We've got a few new videos coming at you this week as well. And then our regular podcast on the weekends where we break down what happened the previous week and predict our winners for the coming week. So until next time, everybody have a great day and peace out.